Beat Saber has a passionate community.
I love Beat Saber.
So do I.
The Metaverse is here. My understanding of the Mark Zuckerberg Metaverse is that you sit down, wear these VR goggles, and get an Ethernet cable plugged into the back of your head, which will proceed to upload your consciousness to the internet.
Holy shit.
And after that process is completed, a second cable will get plugged into your body, but this time, there's a twist. You see, this cable will get plugged deep inside the innards of your butt cheeks, but instead of busting his fully loaded sack of balls in between your ass cheeks, Mark Zuckerberg will sort of reverse the process using innovative metaverse technology and suck in as much data from your asshole as possible. According to my research, that is the gist of the metaverse. A lot of people online are panicking about how concerning it is that Mark Zuckerberg is starting to look and act more human.
I love Beat Saber.
So do I.
Are wondering how the metaverse would impact us and what it means for daily human social interactions. If there's anything the pandemic taught me, it's that a lot of people do value going outside and talking to people.
Hello there.
Like, I'm more of an extrovert, and I've pretty much completely lost my mind back in the day when we were locked down. But there's a lot of conveniences that come with fully digitizing certain processes. Like, it would be nicer if the Uber driver didn't talk to you when you got into an Uber, and it was instead just an android that would shut up and take you to your destination. I've had some insightful and pleasant conversations with Uber drivers. I'm a big fan of the Ubers. But I've had more than a few where I just had no interest in chatting and they wouldn't really get the hint. And that's the thing, by digitizing the process, we're sacrificing the social aspect for convenience. Like, instead of talking to a depressed old cashier lady at Walmart that's contemplating her life decisions, maybe she's thinking getting pregnant at 17 to save her relationship wasn't such a good idea. I would much rather just use a self-checkout machine that doesn't have a human being looking at me with pure sorrow and regret in their eyes.
Now, Deb from our studios team is joining me. Deb, do you want to take us through some of the exciting games in the pipeline for Quest?
Absolutely. Over the years,
Now, a lot of the most interesting games out there take it.
But the metaverse apparently isn't about that. It's actually about advancing digital human connections. I'm worried that it's gonna encourage more people to just stay at home. I mean, people are already addicted to their smartphones, that something like the metaverse that's a lot more immersive than a smartphone is gonna be way more addicting. And I'm not talking about version 1 of the metaverse. I'm talking about version 5, version 10. Once we go through multiple iterations, the technology gets more immersive and most of the immersion breaking bugs have been fixed, which is a step that CD Projekt Red aren't very familiar with.
What?
So instead of having AA meetings, we're gonna start having metaverse meetings about how we're addicted to Mark Zuckerberg probing you with his tentacles. And although you'd like him to stop, it kinda feels good. And is it really wrong to ask Mark to just keep going, to keep probing you, and to extract more and more data? Maybe it would feel good if your butt cheeks were a little bit more spread out, because it kind of feels tight back there sometimes. But Mark likes it tight, and as long as Mark Zuckerberg is happy, then I'm happy too.
I love Beat Saber.
So do I.
It's inevitable that whoever's watching this, you and almost everyone you know is going to plug themselves into this metaverse eventually. We've seen versions of this in movies like The Matrix, Ready Player One, and even the movie Gamer had their own interpretation of it. There's a scene in the movie with this ginormous, obese slob playing in this virtual life simulation game called Society, where he plays as this hot female avatar. This guy looks addicted to this virtual world and kind of reminds me of a more realistic version of the future we saw in the Pixar movie WALL-E, where pretty much everyone was obese.
That's disgusting!
An ex-Google executive was discussing how this virtual world would work and how the people working on the metaverse should be able to listen to our conversations and figure out how we're feeling.
And in the metaverse, here's a tricky and maybe a little bit scary question is, well, the programmer of the metaverse, the company that builds the metaverse, will actually listen in on every conversation and watch every person. And that, on the one hand, can make the experience very exciting because it can see what makes you happy and give you more of that. But then what is the notion of privacy in the metaverse?
Maybe if you're feeling sad, Toyota will try to cheer you up and offer you an installment loan on a new Toyota Corolla. Maybe that will help you get over helplessly watching your parents burn to death. But if you want to avoid all the doom and gloom articles and videos out there and want to have a good idea of what the metaverse is gonna be like, I'd recommend watching a really interesting interview that Garyvee has with Mark Zuckerberg. Now, I do recommend watching the whole video. It's where Mark elaborates on what his vision of the metaverse is gonna be, where we're heading from a virtual reality and augmented reality standpoint, and I have no doubt that he'll be able to pull this off. But while I'm watching the interview, I noticed that Garyvee keeps interrupting Mark Zuckerberg like a lot. It actually happens so often that I watched the interview again from beginning to end just to count how many times Garyvee interrupts Mark Zuckerberg. Let me show you how often this happens in this almost 35-minute long interview.
Biggest way that people spend time on these platforms, that kind of makes sense and
And,
fits with my
and Mark, when you
experience
say,
so far. Yeah,
break
but
that, you know, let
your living room. And,
Mark,
I mean, that's just
on
gonna be
that
pretty
point,
wild. Many
was
millions
the
of them.
you know, I don't know,
It's more than Quest 1, which was
Yeah,
sort of the
it
form factor
feels
we
that
felt like
way.
we needed. Fitness, right?
There's
so
a
you're
lot
out
of fit. That caught my radar.
Right, I mean, virtual
Mark,
reality. if you're gonna do it in your living room.
do you think? I'm sorry to interrupt.
That's a
well,
very
what if
hard
I put
problem.
What if I swallowed a 5G pill?
That's a somewhat conservative estimate,
Did Pokemon Go?
but also weave them into Facebook and Instagram and WhatsApp.
so-
and that's
so-
gonna be pretty wild. API work.
By the way, on the record for the youngsters, I'm sorry to
go through
interrupt.
that.
By the
up?
way, I apologize.
Or whatever it is, but
Or
I think that,
it's
you know, when you
only,
unlock these-
or it's only for college kids.
building that
Yeah,
out of Zynga, right?
to your point.
But it's but
Did you steal that from
most
Steve
people
Jobs?
Are going to
Mark, hard-hitting question. But have you jumped into NFT land yet?
yeah. Well, look, I mean, I try to use all this stuff, right? I mean, so
By the way, real quick,
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I know I'm excited. I gotta give you this shout out.
is just figuring out when something
They're Mark.
is
They're
going
not,
to be awesome.
They're
but
not.
just,
They're not historians.
Like I said, I recommend checking out the full interview. I'll put the link in the description below. And let me know your thoughts on the metaverse. Do you guys think the further digitization of human interactions are gonna make us more insecure, more anxious, have more mental health issues, and suicidal thoughts? Or do you think it'll solve all of our problems? Let me know in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.